World Finals is over, and we have all 5 drafts to go through this week, so let's get started with Game 1. This draft is a great example of modern drafting, which focuses 100% on gathering as many power picks in the meta pool as quickly as possible. Contrast this with my drafting style, for example, that focuses more on countering what the enemy is trying to do with a much wider pool of acceptable champions. Anyways, before we start, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed to let me know that you want more, and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on the rest of the World Finals drafts this week. So with Azir, Orianna, and Yone all banned on red side by T1, Wukong is the easy B1 option for KT. I mentioned this in a previous video in the same situation. When both Wukong and Xin Zhao are open, it's always going to be a trade of junglers where most teams favor Wukong on B1. So this is where the pro drafting style differs from what I would do. On first rotation red side here, I would counter jungle and blind the next OP. But T1, along with basically every other team in the world, simply gather power picks. And since they have a guaranteed Xin Zhao pick at any point in first phase, they choose to drop jungle pick to 3 to get 2 power picks of their own with Taliyah and Varus. But again, it's a similar situation. With 3 mid laners banned, Taliyah and Ryze are the last 2 top tier meta mids, so they'll simply be traded and T1 get to pick what they think is stronger. In this case is the Taliyah. This dynamic with trading power picks back and forth has become the big drafting trend this year, which I won't share my full thoughts on in this video. Anyways, the Varus pick I do really like. I'm not sure why this champ fell off super hard in the middle of the year, but it's good to see it back. Already, with Taliyah E and Varus R, T1's very well equipped to deal with Wukong this game. Now KT then blind pick Rumble for top and take the remaining Ryze for mid as predicted. Rumble is just a really strong champion right now, mainly because he doesn't have any weak point in the game. Strong lane phase, strong side lane 1v1, and obviously great team fighting. And naturally, no pro team is ever really going to pick any of his actual counters like Tryndamere or Warwick, so it's probably a pretty safe blind pick in that sense. And with T1 grabbing the Xin Zhao on R3, both drafts through first phase are very even, with good scaling team fights for both sides. T1's R4 pick is the one weird pick to me in the draft. Blind picking Poppy support is often a huge mistake in the draft, as enemy teams can play around it very easily. But at the very least, it is another tool to deal with Wukong. Let me know what you guys thought of the blind pick Poppy in the comments below. It was actually very effective inside of the game, despite being an oddly placed pick in my opinion. Now, KT have a really good round out with Ashe and Braum. I absolutely love this lane duo. I actually pick it all the time in my competitive drafts. It's just a great 2v2 that synergizes really well together. They have really good early lane power as well with Braum passive and Ashe slows. I've been saying for a while now that Ashe is a super underrated champion. Her utility with Hawkshot and slows and her ultimate for engage is just really good to have in a team fight. Overall, KT have just a very solid team fighting comp that scales really well. No real big weaknesses to point out here, just a solid basic comp. And T1 R5 with Ambessa into Rumble. It's fine, it's kind of just there, and Ambessa will do Ambessa things. I will say that KT doesn't have an immense amount of CC on this squad, so Ambessa can definitely function well here. This game, both drafts are very solid, with good scaling team fighting for both sides. There's just one big point I want to make here. Neither of these teams took into any account champion themes or dynamics. For example, when I see Xin, Poppy, and Ambessa on a team, I think, okay, these champions have to go forward, right? That's their only real mode, is to go in and keep going in. So I would proceed to draft into that champions that do well into melee champions that go forward. Maybe Kog Lulu in bot lane, or Aphelios Lulu, maybe Cassiopeia in mid lane, or Ivern in the jungle. Even Swain could do very well here for KT especially. In terms of themes this game, both comps are just running forward at each other and fighting to the death. That's the big difference between meta drafting and my drafting style, for example. KT and T1 both have solid drafts here. It's just a different strategy that I would employ, which is more about how team comps interact with each other rather than just picking what people think is strong or collecting power picks. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of this draft in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.